The sun had barely risen over the city when Samuel, a man with a past layered with mistakes and hardship, found himself standing before the towering courthouse. His clothes, worn and faded, clung to a gaunt frame, and dirt combined with sweat streaked his face, testament to nights spent under bridges, in alleyways and on cold streets. Samuel's eyes held a quiet desperation, a silent plea for recognition, for dignity. His journey to this point had been long and filled with suffering. Once he had a life, the steady job, the small apartment, the family he loved. But addiction, misfortune, and bad choices had unraveled everything. Now he was here, attempting to enter the courthouse, not to escape justice, but to seek help, redemption, maybe even a second chance. But in his hands he carried only a battered backpack and a flickering hope. As Samuel approached the entrance, he was met with the sterile, intimidating presence of police officers. Their uniforms gleamed under the sunlight, but their expressions were cold and dismissive. The officers, accustomed to chaos and disorder, saw only a homeless man, a nuisance, an outsider, rather than a fellow citizen reaching out for help. They looked at Samuel with derision, their laughter bubbling up as he hesitated at the door. "Hey buddy, you lost? No vagrants allowed in here," one officer scoffed, teasing his partner. Nearby, a group of officers snickered and exchanged glances, dismissing Samuel's effort to enter with outright ridicule. The scene drew a few looks from passers-by, some with contempt, others with pity. Samuel's heart sank further as the police's laughter echoed around him, a cruel hum in the background of his silent struggle. He hesitated, uncertain whether to push forward or retreat. The heavy doors loomed before him, cold and unwelcoming, but Samuel's determination refused to waver. "Please," he muttered softly, voice trembling but steady. "I need to see the judge. I have an appointment. I just want to speak to someone." The officers, amused by his obvious plight, continued to taunt him, their laughter ringing out louder now. In that moment, the scene was set, an emotional battlefield. Samuel, broken but resilient, against a system that seemed to dismiss him entirely. Would he be allowed to enter and be heard? Or would the derision drown out his voice? The police's laughter echoed in his mind as he took a small, trembling step forward, determined not to let their ridicule define his fate. Comment in video. This scene exposes the harsh reality many homeless people face even before they get a chance to be heard. Laughter and mockery only deepen their pain, highlighting the urgent need for compassion and understanding. In our justice system, the police officers continued to mock Samuel's efforts, their voices carried with a tone of arrogance and disdain, as if enjoying their power over a helpless man. "Ha ha ha, what makes you think you can just walk in here? You're not even dressed for court. You look like you're coming from nowhere," one officer jeered, while his partner chuckled and nodded in agreement. Samuel's frustration grew, but he kept his voice calm and steady. "I don't have much, but I need to see the judge. Please, I've come a long way. I just want to speak with someone. I'm not here to cause trouble." His words hung in the air, fragile yet persistent. The officers, however, seemed deaf to his plea. Their laughter intensified, echoing through the marble halls. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps interrupted the scene. It was the court clerk, a woman in her late 40s, known for her kind heart and no-nonsense attitude. She had heard the commotion from a distance and hurried towards the entrance. Her eyes softened as she took in Samuel's disheveled appearance, and she quickly intervened. "Hey, what's going on here?" she asked firmly, eyeing the police officers and Samuel. Her voice was steady, commanding respect. The officers, realizing they'd been caught mocking someone in a vulnerable state, tried to shrug it off, but she wouldn't have it. "These are the courthouse steps, and everyone is entitled to their rights. If this man says he has an appointment, then let him in." One officer snorted. "He looks like he's been sleeping outside for months. What's he got to say that's so important?" She looked at Samuel, her gaze kind but firm. "Sir, please step aside. I'll personally escort you inside. No one should be turned away without proper protocol." Samuel hesitated, overwhelmed by the sudden kindness. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he managed a faint nod. He was grateful, even if he didn't understand why someone would show him such compassion amid the mockery. The police, realizing they had lost their advantage, grumbled but obeyed. As Samuel followed the clerk into the courthouse, his voice caught in his throat. Behind him, the police officers exchanged glances, some feeling embarrassed, others smirking at how quickly power had shifted with a simple act of kindness. Comment in this video: sometimes it takes just one person to stand up for what's right. This clerk's intervention illustrates how compassion can break down barriers built by societal prejudices, reminding us that every individual deserves dignity. Inside, the courthouse was a labyrinth of towering pillars, echoing footsteps and murmurs from hurried officials. Samuel was led through a maze of corridors until they reached a small, stark courtroom. The walls were lined with portraits of justices long gone, their expressions stern and unyielding, much like the world Samuel was entering. He sat quietly while the clerk explained the process. He had no idea what to expect, how a man like him, so broken and invisible, could have a voice amidst the cold machinery of justice. Yet somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope grew. Fueled by the kindness of the clerk's act, the judge entered, a tall, dignified woman with piercing eyes softened by compassion. She looked over her glasses at Samuel, then at the gathered officers. "What's the matter here?" she asked, her voice authoritative yet gentle. The police officers recounted their version, describing Samuel's appearance, claiming he was disruptive, a nuisance that should be removed. Samuel, trembling, spoke softly. "I just need to speak to someone. I have an appointment. I came to ask for help, not trouble." The judge listened attentively. Then she beckoned Samuel to speak. His voice quivered as he answered her questions, revealing his story, his years of homelessness, his struggles, his desire for redemption, and his plea for empirical help, not punishment. As Samuel poured out his heart, the courtroom fell silent. In this moment, the courtroom was no longer a battlefield of prejudice, but a place of potential salvation. The judge looked at Samuel with a gentle but firm expression. "Everyone deserves a chance, regardless of where they come from," she said. "And I believe your story deserves to be heard." Comment in video. The power of a single voice, in this case, a compassionate judge, can elevate someone from despair. It's a reminder that justice isn't just about rules. It's about humanity and understanding. Just as Samuel thought he might be dismissed again, the judge continued. "Today, I see a man seeking help, not defiance. Society has often forgotten the homeless and those forgotten by the system. But we have an obligation to listen and to act." Her words carried weight, resonating like a balm over the gathered crowd. The courtroom was silent for a moment, everyone digesting her words. Samuel felt tears on his cheeks, the weight of years of suffering finally acknowledged. The judge's voice was steady, unwavering. "I will order that Mr. Samuel be given the assistance he needs. Not punishment, but support, shelter, counseling, and a chance to rebuild. This court is not just about punishment. It's about healing." In that instant, the atmosphere shifted. The police officers, who moments before had mocked Samuel, looked away, ashamed. The spectators in the courtroom, some of whom had silently judged Samuel before, now saw him through new eyes, human, deserving, dignified. The courtroom session, whose purpose had initially been to condemn, now became a beacon of hope. Samuel's story had touched hearts and challenged perceptions. For the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps his life could change, that society's judgment was not the final say. As the clerk handed Samuel a piece of paper detailing the resources available, he couldn't find words to express his gratitude. Instead, he looked at the judge, clasped his hands, and simply whispered, "Thank you." That small acknowledgement was more than words. It was a symbol of acceptance and a step toward healing. Comment in video. Sometimes, all it takes is one compassionate act to transform lives. This courtroom moment reminds us that justice, at its core, is about recognizing our shared humanity. Later that day, Samuel sat outside the courthouse, the sun warm on his face. He stared at the piece of paper in his hand, details about shelters, mental health resources, and job training programs. For the first time in many years, he felt a flicker of hope, an ember that could grow into a fire, illuminating his path forward. His mind raced with memories, the laughter of the police, the kindness of the clerk, the dignified words of the judge. Each moment intertwined into a mosaic of human experience, pain, judgment, compassion, and possibly redemption. Samuel knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Old habits die hard, and the shadows of his past still threatened to engulf him. Yet standing there, he made a silent vow to take that first step, to accept help to rebuild his life, and to become a voice for those still unheard. As he gathered his belongings, he looked back at the courthouse's towering presence and whispered to himself, "Maybe I'm not invisible anymore." The scene captured the essence of a society that judged quickly, but also one that could learn, one that could choose empathy over prejudice. Samuel's journey was far from over, but this moment marked a new beginning, a testament to hope, resilience, and the power of human kindness. This story is a hopeful reminder that everyone deserves compassion and a second chance. It demonstrates how a single act of kindness can spark a movement toward greater understanding in our communities. Weeks later, Samuel was enrolled in a local support program, attending meetings, seeking employment, and slowly rebuilding his life. The memory of that courtroom lingered, how a judge's words changed everything. It was a stark contrast to the initial mockery and indifference he faced outside the courthouse. He often thought about that day, realizing how judgment and laughter could destroy a person's dignity. But kindness had the power to uplift and transform. With each step, Samuel carried a newfound sense of purpose, believing in the possibility of change, of hope, and of acceptance. Around him, the world still had its harsh realities: homelessness, prejudice, injustice, but now he saw hope as well. His story became a quiet testament to human resilience, a call to those in power to see beyond appearances and to recognize the humanity in every individual. Samuel's journey was a reminder that sometimes all it takes is a single act of compassion to turn a life around. That courtroom, once a place of despair, had become a symbol of hope. And in the end, he learned that justice isn't just about laws, it's about loving and respecting each soul, no matter their past.